watch the world passing by. With you by my side, maybe this ride could make things right. Speeding up, blurring out the lights. Soon your eyes will be the only blue. Give me more minutes of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to forget. We could go nowhere. Give me more hours of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to escape. Let's go nowhere. Gotta wish tonight, baby, please set your thoughts aside. 'Cause it's been so long, maybe we could drive into the dawn. Speeding up, blurring out the lights. Soon your eyes will be the only blue. Give me more minutes of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to forget. We could go nowhere. Give me more hours of this peace. We could go anywhere. This is our chance to escape. Let's go nowhere. We could go nowhere.
Welcome to this webinar on empowered leadership and how EdTech can help us shape tomorrow's leaders. We are very excited to see all of you. Please say hi in the chat. And also, if you have questions for the esteemed panel we have with us here today, you can ask us questions all throughout the webinar. And we will try our best to also answer your questions as we go along. Today's topic, empowered leadership and how EdTech can help us shape tomorrow's leaders, is really, really important because we need great leadership. Basically, the world is craving great leadership. And what we're experiencing these days is that we do not necessarily always get our bucks for money when we invest in leadership development programs. In fact, only 10% of the $200 billion spent in the US market on leadership development programs seems to be directly applied afterwards in concrete results, which is such a pity. Because when we do invest our money in leadership development programs that we so desperately need, we also need our leaders to go back and apply and really help the organizations they work for flourish and become better places to work, and also deliver results for their customers, of course. So my name is Pernille Brun. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Session, who is co-hosting this webinar together with EdTech Denmark today. In a minute, I'll introduce you to EdTech Denmark's Vice Chair, Kurt. And we also have Jesper Diel and Robin Daniels and Clarissa with us. And there's a special reason for that, because when we look for leadership development and what really matters and counts when it comes to creating great results, we see that the best leadership development programs need to be social and collaborative. We need people to be able to learn from one another with their peers, try out methodologies and get feedback. And they best do that in a social and collaborative environment. That's one dimension. But another dimension is that all the tools and learnings and the different slide decks and stuff they are introduced with needs to be easy accessible. They need to be able to find them somewhere. And this is where the learning management systems comes into the picture. So we have accessible and on demand as a key feature. We have social and collaborative, and then of course we have supported and committed. So basically, whenever there's an individualized coaching journey also helping us with the leadership development, we make sure that it becomes tailored, individualized, and that the individual can apply whatever they have learned throughout the face-to-face courses that might have been, online modules, offsites, combined with the learning management system, and the supported and committed in the group and individualized coaching sessions towards the end. And this is exactly where our panel have different perspectives. So we have Jesper from Imagine, who has actually implemented a very impressive leadership development program. And Jesper is the chief HR officer and head of ESG in Imagine, which is one of the fastest growing, or maybe the fastest growing IT consultancy company in Europe. And Jesper is going to enlighten us on their blended learning approach to leadership training and how they have used different methodologies to make sure that their leaders got value for money through the program. We also have Clarissa helping us shed light on the individualized part and how she has helped many leaders make it very applicable, whatever learnings they get through their group sessions. So through coaching journeys, through individualized and tailored journeys, she can shed light on how do we make it into habits and to very concrete training in a day-to-day setting. And then last but not least, we have Robin Daniels from LMS 365, which is a learning management system, and Robin will tell us more about that in a minute. But Robin has 20 years of experience, very impressive experience with different marketing positions and helping companies grow and taking them IPOs. I think you say 2.5 IPOs and different acquisitions and different things in terms of helping Matterport and Box and LinkedIn and WeWork and other companies go public, but also just grow and become epic in terms of work culture. So we'll learn more from you in a minute, Robin, also when you give your own introduction. But I'm very, very happy you are all here and joining us for shedding light on today's topic. But to welcome us, I would first like to give the word to you, Kurt from EdTech Denmark. As I said, we are very happy that you also invited your members to be part of this webinar today. And Kurt, can you help us shed light a little bit on what is the link between leadership development and EdTech and your take on that? Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I just love this picture that we are looking at right now. So my name is Kurt Gammelgaard-Nielsen from EdTech Denmark, and this picture really entails what we actually do and try to achieve, having different dimension on the learning activities, taking research into products, to technologies, and to you as people who need to learn about leadership and also make it in an efficient way. So technology, people, organizations all come together here in this picture, and this is also the heart of EdTech Denmark, trying to combine these dimensions. And I think it's the reason why we are here together. I think it's quite difficult, and I know that from my own background. I have been a leader for 12 years, having teams up to 120 team members, having more than 20 team leaders that I have been mentoring. And it's such a hard job actually to supervise and to actually make sure that we do this in a right and proper and an efficient way. And also when we have different kind of culture on this. In EU there is one way, in Africa there's another way. So we really have to have efficient tools to this. I've been happy and really lucky and fortunate to be promoted as the C-level leader of the year in Denmark, but I also have team members and team leaders looking back at me as the worst leader. So reflecting on my own leadership, I think it's important to look into a picture like this to make sure that we use efficient tool to actually progress as a leader, and also to support our leaders when they face challenging things, like looking into, for instance, a P&A process. So I have experienced that we put up a new P&A strategy, and my team leaders were unsure about this process. How could I actually support them? I would love to have these kind of tools in support of them. And also when we have virtual teams all across Europe and Africa, that is a challenging thing, I think. And what I think really interesting right now in these days with large language models is that we have new technology capabilities that actually can make it more efficient. And I'll really look forward to hearing the panel, but also in the coming years, about the possibility for having more personalized learning resources, that we can have materials and resources that we can use in mentees. And the other thing that is quite recent is scenario-based advice. So actually to play out different kind of leadership roles in hypothetical professional scenarios. That will be really interesting to see how that actually evolves in the time. So I will sit back now and listen to our distinguished panelists, because I know they have so much experience and good points to this. So Pernille, let's lead us through this very interesting webinar.
Thank you, Kurt. And I will remove you now from the screen, not to remove you completely. We can bring you back in, especially if somebody has special questions for you, Kurt, but also to give the rest of you a little bit more space. So Jesper, maybe you can kick it off and just tell us a little bit about yourself, and also why is this topic of interest to you, and why is it important in your opinion?
Thank you, Pernille. Thank you, Kurt, for having me. For me, this is one of my passions in life. I love learning. I love people. I love culture. I love the environment. So how do you mix that into one big melting pot? This is basically what we're trying to do here. Yeah, I come from, and actually have a finance background. I used to do elite sports. Then I ended up in HR by chance. But the good thing about this is that once you know and you're passionate about people, and you know how to create a team or develop other people, suddenly you see the magic happens. And I think that passion is actually part of why I'm here today. It's also why I think we at Imagine is fairly successful up until now with the leadership program that we have built, actually together with you, Pernille, but I can get back to that later. But it's all about also choosing the right partner. And it's about choosing the right team, right? And you're a big part of that yourself. So bring your best self to work every day. Work on your strengths. That is all we're trying to do here at Imagine as well. So I think that's a little bit about me and why I'm here. And I hope we can have a good dialogue and we get some good questions here, because we can learn every single day and we just get better as leaders and as people. So I'm excited to be here.
Thank you, Jesper. And Clarissa, what's important for you when it comes to this topic? And also give us a little bit of intro of yourself. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I am an organizational psychologist, and I've been working with the coaching and executive coaching for a number of years. And I'm passionate about people and people in working life, and bridging organizations and people, and trying to all the time get better at helping and supporting people who every day show up at work wanting to be value creating, do good stuff. And everyone knows it's complicated in organizational life, and we really need to focus on how to coordinate actions of a lot of people. And in today's very complex world, we need leaders to guide and give clarity, show a path, help with structures, and most importantly, to grow people. So to really empower the people in the organization so that they can build, solutions for the future together, and with all the tech and everything that supports them as well. So I'm excited to be here, because this is so interesting how we really focus on what is good leadership and how to empower organizations on a large scale.
Awesome. Thank you, Clarissa. And then Robin, over to you.
Well, first of all, it's so great to be here. Thank you for hosting this awesome session. And second, I mean, just listening to you, Clarissa, and you, Jesper, and you, Pernilla, and even you, Curtis, like gives me so much hope for the future that there's so many people focused on this topic of how do we develop a world or create an environment where people can do the best work of their life? How do we develop these amazing human beings who are showing up every single day? When I look at my life and career, I spent 20 years in California working at various high-tech companies. I'm back in Denmark now, very excited to be back here. But I would say the red thread that's gone through my career and life is really always being surrounded by people who've either invested in me, either my soft skills or my hard skills, so I could become the best version of myself. And I've always taken that to heart in thinking about how can I do that for all the people around me or even for the next generation, because that's how you create a world where people are doing incredible work. And when I think about this philosophically, if you want to solve all the challenges that your company has, you have to develop your people. You have to invest in your people. You have to create an environment where those people are showing up every single day, motivated and excited to do great work. Because guess what happens when those people are showing up every day, excited and motivated? They're going to do better work. And if I become really philosophical and I think about some of the challenges that we have in the world, and we have lots of them, let's be honest about that, we need to create an environment where people are going to go the extra mile in unleashing their inner potential, bringing to light the innovation, ideas, commitment, excitement, positivity that can solve a lot of these things that we have to solve if we want to create a better future for all of us. So I'm super passionate about this. I'm excited to be here. I joined this company, LMS 365, over the summer. It's a learning platform. I'm happy to talk more about it, but it's really kind of the culmination of my life because learning has been a key part of my life in the last 25, 30 years and how I've gotten to where I am today.
Yes, please talk a little bit more about that in a minute, Robin, when I come back to you, because we really need to learn how we can leverage on the tools of LMS, not only LMS 365, but learning management systems in general. And so I think we are all very, very curious to learn what is it you can offer when you have a system like that. And I know, Jesper, for a fact that you have also use this blended learning approach in your leadership development program. So not only face-to-face, not only coaching, not only online modules, but you've actually taken all different kinds of methodologies and blended them into a great dish of different ways of learning, because we are individuals and need different approaches. So please tell us a little bit about that, and perhaps also a little bit about what tools you've used educational technology tools that you've used in your program.
Yeah, thank you, Pernille. So just to take a step back, so before we actually came to the program, I joined Imagine a little more than a year ago. And like any other exec coming in, I wanted to get to know the business. So I traveled around to most of our locations and actually just listened, sat at the coffee machine, talked to people in the canteen, just listened, asked a lot of questions. And the red thread that I actually got out of that was there's something about leadership, there's something about the culture, because we are both growing organically, but we are also a company that is built of many M&As, meaning different types of companies that is then merged into one. So there is a lot of different leadership philosophies, a lot of different cultures. And then I would say 3 months after I started, we launched what we call the Pulse survey. We actually do that through actionable, one of the EdTech solutions that we use. We use that for both surveys, performance management, and onboarding and learning. But we launched the Pulse survey, and the feedback from that was actually quite clear. What do we do about leadership development? So together with the team, I sat down and we tried to make some notes, and we talked to different partners because, at least from my experience, you need to do this blended learning thing, meaning basically mix physical to create that kind of stickiness, also to break down the silos between the different countries and functions and whatever, and have a little bit of fun together, create some good moments because people remember those, right? Then, of course, also to lift the leadership skills of the entire group. And finally, but in my world, probably most importantly, how do we create that one Imagine culture that will basically makes us better than all competition and create that safe environment that Robin also talked to in his intro. So together with you, Pernille, and Session, we actually developed a program that runs for 6 months. The first 2 days are physical, where we meet. We are around between 20 and 25 participants per cohort. And the good thing about this was that being new to the business, it's fairly easy coming to the board and say, hey, can I get a big investment in leadership here, and will you support me in lifting our business? And there was a big yes from the board, which means that we actually started with my peers in the executive management.
Wow.
So we involved them in the process of what does good leadership mean at Imagine. Meaning that everyone was behind that from the top, meaning from the board, executive management, and all the MDs of the different countries. That created role modeling behavior. And I have to say the support from our CEO, Anders, has been tremendous in all of this. He's been welcoming everyone to the program. He's been part of the graduation speeches and all this. And that just creates a different atmosphere in the entire organization. The good thing, I think, with this blended learning part is that once people meet physically and you go out in the first night and you have a nice dinner and smiles and there's all these kinds of socially connecting activities, means that when we were then finished with the 2 days physically, we had 6 sessions, that is 2 hours virtually via Teams, facilitated by Pernille and myself. And then between each session, we actually assigned an executive business coach to each individual participant. That is quite a big investment. But this was exactly to make it stick, but also to create a space that is safe for the leader, that is not a person from HR or someone that they think will go back and talk, but it was their business development space to talk about their leadership challenges. It could be whatever challenges they have. They think the business coach was the right person to spar with. And I must say the feedback that we get from the coaching sessions and from the program itself is more than 9.5 on a scale from 1 to 10 from the participants afterwards. So it has been a huge success. We have trained 69 leaders up until now. We've had more than 300 coaching sessions, and I can say the culture that we're creating, the One Imagine culture that was my dream, that is slowly coming into play here, and it's going so well. So we will keep going next year with more cohorts, and actually just keep improving the training a little bit. But it's amazing to see what happens when you do these kind of things, and also that the online 2-hour sessions actually works because people have built that kind of relationship in the physical settings that we started out with. So they're not worried about speaking up, even though English is not their first language. So somehow we created that safe environment, and that's on the participants. And of course, it's a dream come true, but it's hard work. But it's so nice to see when it suddenly just blossoms. So
I pulled this up, Jesper, because this is a very good because this is a very good picture of face-to-face online modules. You also have an LMS supporting and making everything accessible and on demand when people need them the most in real life and time, not just when we have the courses, but also accessible afterwards, and then of course supported by the individualized coaching sessions. So I think what you're talking about is this blended learning approach, but also how you have Actimo support whatever else you need. So the performance management systems, the one-to-one tools are also accessible there through your LMS, right? So,
yeah, exactly. And for me, it was very important that we made it easy, accessible. So there was basically no boundaries for doing this. So we flipped it around. We made very short pulse surveys. It's only 6 questions and a comments field. So it's basically in your face. Would you recommend your leaders to others?
Yeah.
Yes. And then you can, of course, write whatever you think. But what we saw during this program is that in the quarterly pulse surveys, the leadership score on this pulse survey started climbing, which means that we directly every quarter see the impact on this leadership academy, which is amazing. And
Yeah,
and
which is another key dimension of this that I maybe didn't talk too much about in the beginning, but how it needs to be measured so that we can actually prove that this is worth the money, right? Because we need to negotiate with the top management on this. And Clarissa, I would like to give the word to you and talk a little bit about, so whenever you then receive some of these leaders in your individualized coaching sessions, and I know you also do training and all kinds of other things, and in the face-to-face also leadership development programs, but why do you find it important that we also have this environment for support, and is it needed? I mean, why can't we just maybe do the online and the face-to-face training for everyone? Do we really need it to be individualized?
Well, I think speaking about the value creation, I mean, we all know that first of all, we're all different. And second of all, we are in different places of our careers. And sometimes when we do these trainings, people think, oh, I've done a module before on change management. I know. And yet, once you have people one-on-one and you start exploring, okay, so what really got to you, or when were you surprised, or what's on your agenda? And we start to customize it. We start to get it very close to everyday dilemmas of leadership tasks. There's so many different people. There's so many different needs, and there are so many different agendas in organizations. So really giving that room for reflection, I think, is the key word here. Because, we know from all training programs that one of 3 top measures is, if we want value for money, we need to give time for reflection for people to actually, make use of all that knowledge. So to apply it to your own leadership, your daily dilemmas, really, I guess, is the main thing. Also, we are, by showing up as their coach once a month or however much we do, there's this commitment thing going on. It's as if somebody is expecting me to come back and share, what were my experiences? How did I experiment? What did I try? How did it go? And also, it's a supportive environment. And you're not on your own. I mean, we are here to support you. What is needed at this point in time for you?
Yes.
So those are some of my reflections about why I think it's important to make a combination.
Yes. And Robin, so the LMS 365 company that you joined, how is it that, what is your take on this? How do you support not only leaders, but maybe all of the company to develop in a way where learning stick? So I think maybe you can experience a little bit about learning management systems in general, and
for sure,
maybe some of the other EdTech tools that you can integrate with, so that we can support great leadership development.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the stories I just heard just unlocks so much in me as well about like the feelings on leadership. This idea of the blended approach, I think, is just, first of all, so strong, because so much of leadership development is about understanding the humans. It's my experience. And I found it tough during COVID, when everything was just virtual, because so much is reading each other's body language and mood and so on. And you miss some of those cues. And what you just described, Jesper, in fact, that's getting to know people. And then you can move to virtual. Virtual is eminently fine once you have the trust and the relationship. But I think breaking down those barriers so you can open up and have transparency and trust is just so key. And so, especially on the soft skills, if you're going to give coaching or feedback on people's soft skills, which in my experience, when I look at all the people I've coached in my life and in work for me, or just I've coached, I would say like 90% of it is around soft skills oftentimes. It's very rarely actually about hard skills. And to really have those conversations, you need to have deep trust and support of each other. So anyway, to your question, so for those of you who don't know LMS 365, or even don't know the category of LMS, LMS stands for Learning Management System. And basically there are platforms out there that companies use to provide learning for their employees. And we're one of them. We're a company based out of Denmark. We're about 200 people globally. We have people all over the world. About half of our business is actually from the US. And we provide a learning platform that companies like Lego, IKEA, NHS, many others use to provide learning for their employees. And our take on it is, and the reason why we're growing at over 50% year over year, is because we believe learning needs to happen where people are working every day. Because if I think philosophically about this, I've been offered learning platforms throughout my entire career at all these different companies I've worked for, Salesforce and Box and WeWork and so on. And it was rarely something I used because it was always something extra that I had to go do. And our whole thesis, and one of the reasons is I believe that we're successful, is because we provide learning right in the environment that the users are in every day. So we support Microsoft Teams, Microsoft SharePoint, or other sites built on Microsoft. We 100% align to the Microsoft ecosystem, which might have been a clue when we're called LMS 365. And we have about 2 million users every who use our platform around the world. So we provide a learning platform. The content itself is actually usually created by companies themselves that are specific to how they want to train their leaders or their employees, or they can pull it in from other systems like LinkedIn Learning, Go1, Open Sesame, and so on. But we also believe learning is just one part of the experience of how you become the best version of yourself. If you really want to unlock the potential in your teams, and especially your leaders, it's about much more. So we recently acquired a company in the UK that also provides a performance management and an engagement platform for our customers, much to what Jesper was just talking about. This idea of checking in with your team members on a daily, weekly basis and ensuring that they're working on the right things means that you as a business will have much better outcomes because you'll perform better. And so our platform can also, of course, then see based on how you're performing, engaging, and how you're doing and being integrated with the team, we can then recommend learning paths for you. If your goal is to become a CMO one day, like I've been, well, here are the steps and learning that you have to take, or maybe even the people that you should connect with within the business who can get you on that path. So it all starts coming together, because learning is a key part of it, but it's only one part of actually, I think, really unleashing that full potential that you have. So our take on engagement is a little bit different than what Jesper was just kind of talking about. We also, within teams, we show up every week and we ask the employees 4 simple questions. How are you doing? What did you achieve this week? What were your blockers? And who do you want to high five, or who do you want to give kudos to? And it does 3 things. It provides a deep level of self-reflection to know whether or not you're working on the right things and the things that matter for yourself, and of course also for the business. So, because we've all had those weeks where like you come to Friday night and you're like, God, I was so busy, but I don't really know if I achieved anything because it was just kind of like fighting fires. Those are not great weeks. So it provides this level of deep reflection, which is super powerful, especially if you want to rise and ascend to the level of leadership. You need to be really focused on the things that matter. If you're too scattered, you'll never get there. Number 2, it really provides a closeness to you and your manager or your leader, because they can invest more. They can see in real time or near real time the things that are stopping you from achieving your goals or helping you on there. If I can see somebody on my team is struggling with something, instead of waiting for the 6-month mark, I can in real time go and say, hey, how can I help? It provides a much closer relationship, and I can be much better servant leader for the team who's working for me and develop and invest in them where I see they're struggling, or provide them the right coaching and guidance, or maybe external mentorship. And number 3, which I maybe think is the most important, it provides a deep sense of belonging. When we first rolled this technology out in our own company over the summer, in the first week, again, we're 200 people, we had about 1,100 high fives flying between different team members and kudos. And it just makes you feel like you matter, you belong, you're being appreciated. And when you look at really what provides motivation at work, a lot of it comes down to people not feeling appreciated, not feeling like the work that they do matter, that nobody really cares about them. And once you start feeling that on a weekly basis, do you think those people are going to show up and do better work and trust more in the future of the business? Of course they are. So that's what we do. And the leadership part of it for us is, just to be clear, it's kind of a blend, because I really think a platform like ours is really great if you want to train a lot of people on the harder skills. Of course, in digital, virtual and digital is totally fine. We also support blended learning or instructor-led learning, which is much better, I think, for the softer skills, right? And if you want to develop leaders, it's a mix of those two. You have to have, of course, the right hard skills, but you really also have to have the right soft skills to lead people into the next phase of growth.
Yeah, and I think this sparks a question I have for you, Jesper, because I think whenever those tools are introduced to the leaders, they need to use them, and they need to find them valuable. They need to actually read whatever feedback their employees are giving them on those questions that Robin talked about before, but also questions you asked, Jesper. So can you talk a little bit about how those two things maybe go together or hand in hand, and how have you
Yeah,
helped
I actually also
Yes.
wanted to
Yes,
ask
too.
Robin how he actually managed to get people to answer this every week,
Yes.
because for me there's also very big cultural differences
Yeah.
on how
Yeah,
people
yeah.
have used to. We had part of our company, for instance, where they had been running surveys for a couple of years, and this is being brutally honest, and maybe it'll hit me back, I don't know, but the thing was that if the result of the survey was not to the standard that the leaders wanted at that time, they just didn't show it. Meaning we came from a place in one small part of our company where people were answering surveys, but they didn't see the results. So for me and the team, the biggest like hurdle to get through in the beginning was actually to create trust and transparency. And then of course make it easy.
Yeah.
Because
This does not
imagine
sound like a great way to create trust.
no, exactly. Thank you for your feedback. I don't care. It was not good enough, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Put it in the drawer. So it was so important for us that basically, no matter what kind of feedback it was, we posted it out there, not like unfiltered, of course, but we made sure that people could see it was taken seriously. It was listened to. We linked initiatives back to either leadership training, to feedback from pulse surveys, to feedback from town halls or whatever. So we try to link it back all the time. Thank you for your feedback. We are doing this. And I was a little bit, Robin, how did you convince people that they should every week, the high five part?
I'll tell you.
But for the blockers part or something, how did you convince people doing that?
Well, so the company we acquired over the summer was called Weekly 10, because the whole thesis is it's going to take you 10 minutes or less than 10 minutes every week to do this. I think there's a couple of hurdles when people think it's too much or something extra they have to do. This is kind of like in the flow of work. This is our whole focus, making sure it happens. And because I've tried so many of these other ones, Lattice, Leapsome, Culture Amp, Glint, and it's always this extra thing that you have to go do, which is a little bit of a hassle. And then I also fundamentally, I think we as a company, but I also personally have an issue with a lot of these are anonymous, which I don't think provides a close relationship if you're actually going to nurture transparency and trust and leadership in the people around you. Because then it just feels like it's kind of like nearly an anonymous Twitter where people can just kind of say stuff, but there's no accountability to anybody on any side. This idea that it's very visible, you're accountable, you can say something honestly, and you can have a much more real-time dialogue in the place that the work is happening, I think is how we've been successful. It doesn't mean, to be clear, that every single person every week completes this, but it's over 90% every single week. And so it is for all our customers, again, because it's right in the flow of how it happens. And they know that their manager sees it. They get a notification in real time saying, this person actually shared something with you. And so you want to know, because that makes you a better leader. But it's also, to be clear, to come back to leadership development, I think you both have said it well, or all three of you, it's not just about a tool. A tool is part of it, right? And it has to be able to support that. It's about culture, environment. It starts at the leadership level. Everybody has to be bought into that this is going to make us a better organization. And once that starts falling through, or some leaders don't believe in it, I think the whole thing starts coming apart. So there's many things, but we provide the tool that actually makes it visible. And then to your point, Pernilla, making it also the outcome of it becomes like a KPI that you start measuring the success of business. So for example, when we ask every week on a scale of 1 to 10, how you're doing, of course, we contract it over time. What we ultimately want to do, and we don't have this yet, just to be clear, is we want to be able to figure out the measurement, the KPI, that companies will use the one measurement to really know if their leaders are succeeding. So for example, in sales, you measure everything on ARR, right? It's like one metric to rule it all, basically. In customer success, it's NRR, net revenue retention, how many customers are continue to sign up. We don't really have one when it comes to measuring the success of our leaders. And I think it's a big miss on us on our industry. We have some proxy KPIs, engagement, these pulse surveys, but we don't really have a clear measurement we can take to the board or to our shareholders and say, this is the outcome of what we're doing. So I think we need to work on that all together.
Right from the beginning, right? So we need to remember to do that.
Exactly.
And which brings me to you, Clarissa, because how do you then know that whatever you meet online, right, with the coaching clients very often, sometimes maybe face to face, but very often also online. And why is that a good idea? That's for one, but also how do you then know that whatever comes up in those coaching sessions is actually a true mirror of what's happening in the organization? And how can you ensure and make sure that it becomes applicable in their day-to-day business when you are not there with them on the floor, watching them doing leadership with their peers every day?
Yeah, so a great question. Thank you. And I'm one of the coaches on the program at Imagine. And one of the things that's supportive is actually the pulse survey, because since that is done, we can, in my sessions with the leaders individually, look to it and to see, okay, so what's the state of the union right now? And in that sense, we make a connection between what goes on in real life and what are we actually spending our time focusing on, what will be valuable for them. And I get a little bit of information from the outside, the real day-to-day. But then again, it's a matter of trust, yeah? So if I should be value creating in a leadership program like that, I need to create an alliance, a relation with the individual leader, and make sure that we spend time, addressing what's meaningful, what's helpful, what's relevant. And this is the customized part of it. And so sometimes, of course, I'm curious to know, what would your colleague think about this? Or what are your different stakeholders point to this? So we can try and bring everyday relations into the coaching room. And I should just say that some of the coaching journeys I do with leaders, they are entirely online. And that has been quite interesting, because this is a post-COVID experience. And actually, to my surprise, often we can do some very interesting stuff that people are really, really happy with. It's not to say that I personally would not have a preference for meeting in person, because I believe that bandwidth of actual physical interaction is broader. And yet, I must say, to a large extent, I have been surprised of how much you can actually obtain and accomplish together in a virtual setting as well.
And then what you say
it says a lot about what a good coach you are, Clarissa.
Thank you.
It also talks about how you use those insights you do get from some of the surveys that Jesper mentioned they use, and all the how EdTech actually is also educational technology is all about technology supporting our learning experience, and we can, a lot of the tools that's developed is developed for high schools or primary schools, but what have we developed for leaders, right? And then we talk about surveys and engagement surveys and stuff, but there's actually also a good question here from one in the comments here. Does LMS provide bottom-up feedback on leadership effectiveness of leaders in an organization? And maybe both you, Jesper, and Robin can speak a little bit about this. Jesper, why don't you start?
Well, I think this is actually what we try to do with this pulse kind of fairly hard feedback, or at least very direct feedback, to actually get this from bottom up. So we took away all the filters and stuff like that. But I agree, maybe Robin's tool can do it much better. We needed to start somewhere, and I think it's better to start somewhere and then get some learnings and then improve from there. And I think that's a big part of what we are doing also with the actionable tool. Is it best for everything we do? No. But is it easy? Yes, it's an app. You can use it on the fly. It takes yeah, you just click and then you're done. You can see all the different data points you have as a leader, which is pretty cool. You can do small training sessions, you can do onboarding, you can do all kinds of things in that. But I agree also with Robin's comments that this about true measurement on leadership. I think maybe look at followers. You can also look at, for instance, I think there is a direct correlation when you look at sales, for instance, the motivation of the sales people, then you can link it back to the leadership and the NPS. So you can actually use different kinds of metrics to track how it's going.
Yes.
But we're not there yet. What do you see on your side, Robin, on this?
So yes,
I mean,
I'll give it to Robin. I just have one follow-up question on that, because so what you're saying is just start somewhere, or
again, just don't be afraid to start somewhere. Don't be afraid to go out there, because again, if you listen to your organization and spend time in trying to understand what they're really asking, and then of course reach out to some bright people and ask, and then go from there, and then get feedback along the way, and then you can always pivot. You can just take a different direction if it doesn't work. I think we need to be much better on that. Instead of rolling out big multi-year programs, try it out based on what you believe with your professionalism would work best in your company, and then go from there. Don't be so afraid of stepping into new territory or something like that. At least for us, it's really getting positive feedback and getting us appetite for more, I think.
it sounds like something you could have said, Clarissa, from your coaching sessions. Just try it out and get some feedback.
Try it out.
Let's reiterate if it doesn't work. But Robin, to you.
Yeah, I mean, I would say, first of all, I think some data is better than no data. So I'm all for, like, get as much data as you can. I think it's only going to be helpful. I just remember when I was at LinkedIn, for example, we would do these, I think it was every 6 months, these big pulse surveys, right? And then I'd get the results, and it's like, okay, so it's all anonymous. I had a team of about 50 people, right? And now you see it, and it's mostly good, but some negative, and it's just like hard to action. And I feel like you get instantly like in some defensive mode, kind of ready for this. I remember the CEO told me when I was there, just, when you get the results, just have a glass of wine and just kind of let it take it all in, just like so it's like it's a weird way, I think, versus I think the future. And if you look at the new generation of people who are coming in, I think they want to have a much closer, more real-time relationship with the people that they work with. So the way that our technology works in terms of bottoms-up feedback. So for example, in my organization, I'm the chief business officer. So I have a few layers of people who are working for me. You can pass feedback through. So for example, I got one the other day. There was somebody who was an individual contributor who worked for one of my VPs, and he said he passed that through to me because he wanted me to be aware of it. So you can pass through the feedback. And again, I think it's not anonymous. I can see it as, then I can go have a conversation, versus when I look at some of the past tools I've used, this idea of it being again, it's not to say sometimes anonymous feedback, of course, can be very valuable if you especially have an environment that's changing dynamically. But most of the time, I feel like you want to be able to action it, or you want to be able to do something about it. And it just provides, I think, this kind of like civil conversation. It's again, I liken it to the reason I like LinkedIn as a platform, because everybody, you can see who they are. They're not up, versus Twitter. It's not a great place to be, or X now, because everyone's just kind of throwing mud at each other because it's so easy, because nobody's real identity is there. It's all kind of fake. Whereas you actually put pride in what you put out there. You're thoughtful about the information you give and take and so on. And that's anyway the world that I want to live in, where you can have these open and transparent conversations. And that's what we're trying to create.
Yeah.
But me, Robin, to your point, I'm never really surprised with the feedback I get, because I spend a lot of time on actually talking to my team and to the people around in the organization, actually trying to listen to what they have to say. So both with the surveys, but also with the performance reviews or feedbacks or whatever you call it, I think it should never be a surprise, right? People should know what you expect as a leader, and you should know as a leader what you can do to actually make their life better or remove obstacles. I think you call it roadblocks or whatever. I think it's so important to be that close. So, for this person, this is how I need to do, this is what I need to do, this is how I need to treat that person. And then different culture, different background, you need to do something else. And I think that's where we
you might have your feedback module accessible and available online. And then Clarissa, I have a question for you, because when the talking goes on feedback, and also maybe the headline for today's webinar, empowerment, and how maybe EdTech tools can help us empower leaders. What's your take on that?
Yeah, well, actually, I was just thinking that the learning platform, also as a coach on an online format, it's really helpful, because you know what's going on. So I have complete awareness of what are the modules, what was the thing going on. And I guess it's the same thing, that empowerment is all about, supporting that capacity to act autonomously, to take ownership, and bring potentials and the best of myself and my people. So I guess that, data for me is very important. And even talking about soft skills, there's such a lot of data. And for me, data is an opportunity to have conversations and to have interactions where we explore what that means to us, so that it's an opportunity to get closer to understanding and getting broader perspectives and coming up with solutions that we need to.
And what kind of data are you pulling on or learning from when it comes to coaching?
Yeah, well, that is also interesting. So if you do one-on-one coaching, I mean, first of all, you have your leaders individually, and you have data from them. And sometimes you have groups. That's another kind of coaching. And you have lots of data in the room. You have so many perspectives that you can add, help, and you can help people listen to each other's perspectives. So on a learning platform, I guess that you have access to a lot of information. I think my role as a coach is really helping people find out what's relevant. I mean, what do they need? And then, of course, to ask, to make sure that you have conversations with your employees, with your co-leaders and your stakeholders, so that you know what other people are about.
And then, Robin, there's a question for you from the panel here, or not from the panel, from the comments section here, our audience.
All right.
One in the audience asking the question, who buys an LMS and why? Is internal leadership development a significant driver? And if not, what is the biggest driver?
Well, if we're completely honest and transparent about it, there's many different reasons. One of the main ones is for compliance reasons. Like, most companies have to have a learning platform because they have to train their employees when they start a new job, or they have to continually train them on certain things. Maybe it's IT training, maybe it's around their HR policies and so on. So oftentimes we get brought into an organization by the HR team. And oftentimes, if the company is big enough, it's specifically learning and development that works usually in the HR department in cooperation with the IT team. We always deal with IT because they're usually making sure that the systems are aligned with the other systems that they have, because it usually doesn't live in isolation. And learning system usually ties into maybe performance, maybe an HR management platform, like a Workday, SAP, and so on. So it's usually part of a larger thing. You bring us in because you want to have the best that's aligned with your platform and the way that you want to train your employees. But we're also seeing, so that's kind of, I think, traditionally how learning has been. One of the reasons I ended up joining this company and why I'm so passionate about this is I also really want to flip learning around to something that you want to do. And I think it makes everybody kind of a better version of themselves, so instead of learning something that you feel like you're being forced to do or you have to do for, certain reasons that HR kind of keep pinging you on, wouldn't it be wonderful if you have a system that you're encouraged to use because you know that it will propel you towards maybe more career opportunities, better learning, maybe new areas of responsibility, maybe better pay, a better title, whatever it is that you're seeking in your life. And I don't know if we're quite there yet, because it's always this extra thing. But again, if you can provide the right data and the right engagement around it, then I think the future is really bright. And so what I'm looking into, because I also run product at the company, is how do you modify learning for people in the future? Because we all learn differently. Sometimes I learn by listening to a podcast. Sometimes it's by watching a video. Sometimes it's by reading something and internalizing something. Sometimes by doing to the points we've made. Sometimes by interacting with other people. There's so many different ways of learning, and learning is not a one size fits all. If you really want learning to stick and be impactful and meaningful for you, I think we have to really modify how learning happens. And this is where I'm hopeful AI can come in and basically guide us. So it's not going to take learning away, because it's so personal, but you should be able to, if you want to become a VP of finance one day, say, my goal is to become a VP of finance. Show me the learning path in the style that I like to learn. I like to listen to things, and I like to interact with games. It should be able to create that modality for you, so you can learn in the best way possible, so it really sticks for you. We're getting there, and that's where I see that, but we're not there yet.
No,
I'm saying, once you have developed that, then please let us know.
Yes,
we're getting there. We're working on it.
Pull this question up, because we actually do have a report we can share here that we're gonna also gather all your questions that you are popping in the comment section right now afterwards, and shed light on them in an article and some other materials. But actually, there is a report here showing some of the results on this question here. So this report, I'm gonna just move the question because I think it's blocking what we can see here. So yes, this module here shows how, when you engage not just a small percentage of the leaders in the company, but at all levels, develop people, how much bigger return on investment you actually do get for your investment in leadership development. So I just wanted to pull this up before we have to unfortunately round this off very soon, so that we can all see that there are different ways we can actually measure the return on investment. And I want to invite Kurt back on the stage, because what I want to ask now is to all of you to just sum up, what are some of your key advice for people sitting out there listening in right now in terms of getting started when it comes to blended learning and using the tools of EdTech in shaping tomorrow's leaders? And Clarissa, I would like to start off with you. A small key takeaway from today's session, or your best advice for everyone listening in to get started.
Yeah, well, I think so. The purpose of a session really is to democratize coaching, which really means to get a learning opportunity to people wherever they are. And with EdTech, we really have an opportunity to gather people from all over the globe who share interests and meet and get that space, that room for reflection, for personal development and career considerations, for improving leadership, in getting to know your own leadership values, and really just having the opportunity. So I think the virtual environment, the blended learning, has so much to offer. So don't be afraid, just jump and try it out, like Jesper said earlier. There is so much to gain from it.
Thank you, Clarissa. And actually, I just want to pull up this question here. I don't have a clear answer on this question, but I think it's a really great question that we need to be able to answer soon, because yes, we need a solution for the rural remote areas where there are poor internet connections to use technology, because as it is, and what we're talking about right now, we might have trouble whenever we have internet trouble, right? So I'm just going to let's get back to that one. That's a very, very important question. Robin, a key takeaway or advice from today's session for the audience?
Just two things for me. One is it has to be an all-encompassing thing. It can't be just one department. Like I think Jesper you brought it up, but get everyone on board. Starts at the top, but every leader has to feel like they're bought into it and they're supporting it. And then the second thing is just start. We see from all the data out there that companies that invest in their leadership see higher profitability, more innovation, deeper levels of engagement. And that's how you become an epic company and you end up doing great work that changes the world. And it starts with the leaders, because if every leader feels empowered and motivated to do great work, they will pass it on to all the people that work for them. So don't hesitate. It's the most important thing you can do. So I'm so glad that we're having this session. And again, thank you for hosting me.
Thank you, Robin. And Jesper?
Yeah, I don't think I have much to add. I think Clarissa and Robin said it very beautifully. It's about believe that you basically just make sure that you involve everyone in the organization. Start with the top, partner up, ask around, just reach out to us in this room if you have questions. I think it's so important. We are all here to support because learning and people is our passion, as all of us started out by saying. So there are so many good partners out there that can actually help you with exactly where you are on your leadership journey. And I think to Robin's point, just try it out. It shows great success when you make it available for everyone. So thank you for having me.
And I'm very curious to hear your take on this, Kurt. You've been listening in and with us all along in the panel. So what's your key takeaways?
It's such a pleasure. I'm so reassured about tomorrow's also good work. I listened very carefully to the research that you have implemented, the feedback, the blended learning that we have experienced during COVID, DSG on learning for everyone that is also been accessible to Asia and Africa, on the technology that the price is actually reducing. So it's not for the very few, it's actually for everyone. We can democratize this about feedback. So I'm really reassured about the ability to take research and the knowledge that we know into technology and bring that to the customers and take it up. And quite right, I think the real effective will be, and if we have that on the company level, because the leaders also need to have circles where they can discuss the same thing and can have the same background information accessible to them when they have these kind of discussion. And at the last point, the AI, yes, that will also empower with the customized learning and the role play, as I mentioned in the start, the possibility here to have different kind of cultural flavor and also different aspect of leadership. The only thing we didn't point out is the board, actually. So we need also to improve on the board's learning opportunities. So that maybe could be a next session for us.
Yes, thank you, Kurt. And also thank you for bringing EdTech to life in your organization and shedding light on the collaboration part between private institutions and research institutions, universities and everything. It's so important that we in the future work all together, like you've been saying in your roundup, Robin, Jesper, and Clarissa, that we're here to support, and we have different perspectives, and different perspectives are needed in order to solve the problems we're facing in the world. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. We will for sure follow up on the questions we didn't get to answer in this panel, but thank you so much for dialing in, and take care out there. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Got nothing inside, wanna watch the world passing by. With you by my side, maybe this ride could make